Henry. What a goal! Inspiration for Arsenal. And here's Ozil. Lacazette. Ozil! Arsenal are walking in a winter wonderland.
Tierney, great run, great goal! What a magnificent goal by Kieran Tierney!
Right, so welcome back to Sideline Talk. This is a new feature we're doing on the programme. It's going to be basically me running through with different Arsenal fans each week. We're trying to get some of the audience going in, trying to get as much content as we can. So obviously there's been a first episode. We've got another one going on now. The pubs are open, the sun's out. So, there's not much time for people at the moment, but we're trying to keep busy. My guest this wonderful afternoon is Toby. You may know him as Arsenal editor. Thanks for jumping on, Toby. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Oh, it's good to be here, Dan. Yeah, I'm excited. It's like you say, pubs are open. I managed to get myself in yesterday. My housemate's actually he's a City fan, so we went to watch the City game in a local garden in a pub. It's not quite as big a European night for us tonight, but it is exciting.
Yeah, we'll go into that. Jesus, yeah, he'll be relieved, of course. They got the win. But yeah, like you say, the pubs are open, the beer's flowing, the beer's still cold. It's all good. Let's just hope that good weather keeps up. So firstly, obviously I've seen your content. I've seen the sort of stuff you do. First thing I want to ask you, what is it that actually got you to supporting Arsenal? How did that all begin?
That is a great question, and it is a very embarrassing one. So I'm happy you asked that. Cheers, mate. No, my mum is Geordie, and so when I was very small, I was wearing Newcastle United kits with Alan Shearer on the back until I was 4 years old, and I was at school, and I didn't follow football or anything. I was 4 years old. I don't think I knew really what it was to an extent, I guess. And one of my mates, the cool kid in the class, approached me and said, "Who do you support?" And I said, "Oh, Newcastle." He said, "Why don't you support Arsenal?" And I was like, well, what's Arsenal? And then he gave me a Shoot magazine. You remember Shoot, with a hardcover? Yeah, and it had Mark Overmars on the front, and I read it back to front, and it was all about Arsenal. And that was it. I was sold, and I was hooked. And that was the team I followed. And because my parents aren't really into football, I didn't really inherit it as such. It was kind of up to me to find my own team. And being from near London, northwest of London, it just made a lot of sense, and I just followed them from that point.
Definitely, yeah. You're probably happy now in the longer run, especially back in them days. There was a little bit more success to be under, Newcastle were a good team here or there, but like you say, it's easy for you to commute to. It's a bit easier for you to follow. So, this main idea is to get people's perception of this season. What was your first instincts last season towards the end of it? Obviously, coming into a new one, we've got Arteta, we've had some new signings. What was your expectations for the team moving forward?
So, do you mean for this season?
For this season, so just coming into this season, like what was your predictions before it all begun?
Yeah, I felt really good. I don't know about you, but coming off the back of that victory in the FA Cup, it really did feel like we were going on to better things. And then the final day of the season, the final day of the transfer window, we signed Thomas Partey. It did feel like we were getting somewhere, and it felt like that was one of the missing links. And it did feel like we all knew that we were playing that, three at the back formation that was relatively defensive, and we were playing on that counter-attacking way that we always felt, I think, was going to get caught out. But it did feel like it was working. The way Arteta speaks is just so clear and clearly resonates with the players, and I thought, right, this feels good. We've got Partey coming in. That fills the gap that we knew we had. We knew we were missing that attacking link in the middle. But I had high hopes. I thought we were going to be very difficult to beat, and I thought we were going to. I don't know. I was very disappointed, I suppose, in the first part of the season where we weren't as offensive as possible as we could have been. But I was very, very, very hopeful. And in retrospect, if we'd have been playing like we had since Boxing Day this season, then I think we'd been in a different place. But it took us a while to figure it out.
Definitely. I think we were all having the same party mood when Thomas was signed on that final day. It was a bit of breath of fresh air in the beginning because it was the sort of thing we needed. It's not probably worked out the way people thought, like you touched on with the victory at the end of the season. I think it made, I know this has been said on previous pods, but it sort of gave people false hope. I think we were expecting a lot from that, from beating the likes of Liverpool and your Man City, and then obviously Chelsea. Where do you think it has gone wrong in terms of like the team structure? I mean, it's pretty hard to say about Arsenal because I think a lot of teams have been under the bus this season. No one's really been the teams that anyone expected, and like your Man City or your Man United, it's sort of fallen all over. Where do you think that's happened for Arsenal? Where's it gone wrong?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a great question, and I think a lot of different Arsenal fans would probably say different things, but for me, it's a good question because I actually break the season into two. So for me, it goes up until Boxing Day, whether it was that game against Chelsea, and then it was from then. And if we took it at the first part of the season, we were still playing in that three at the back formation. I think fundamentally, Arteta just didn't trust the players to play the way he wanted. And I think with probably about 10 games before that Chelsea game, we all were shouting. I mean, a lot of us fans, we've got Emile Smith-Rowe, use him, put him in the middle. Like, this is the missing link to play for at the back and to connect up all those players at the front, which is the thing that was missing. I don't know if you saw a lot of the issues in how we were playing, but we never went through the middle. We were just trying to worked it well out wide, but we didn't have the player in the middle to knock it in with their head, which is mental when you think about it. I can't believe we were even thinking about it. So I think firstly, to get to that point of Boxing Day took too long. I think we should have realised right in the slap bang in the middle of that November, something's not working, and the process that Arteta was, trusting and that wanted us to trust just wasn't working. I think he always wanted to play a four at the back. I think he forced his hand a little bit, and I think he did go to it a little bit earlier than maybe he wanted, but it worked. And but then we kind of look at it after that. I think what's gone wrong there, I think, is basically now we're starting to get, or we have done since then, get the best out of the players we've probably got. But the issue is the squad's too thin, and even when it is at full, when we've got a full team in our first 11, I think unfortunately we rely on two of the players that we are reliant on. These aren't the only two players we're reliant on, but they are two of the players reliant are Luiz and Xhaka. Yeah. And we've realised how much we miss them when they're gone. But the issue with that is when you have two players that are fundamental to how you play, and very good players, by the way, but you just know that you pay for their good qualities with points or like a seriously like horrendous error every 5-10 games. So I think having to rely on those players is an issue, and having a squad too thin. So I think in overall this season, I think just taking too long to figure out what was wrong. I think for maybe Arteta's point, and I'm a huge Arteta in person. So and then after that, just I think that we can really see the issues with the team, even though Arteta's getting the best out of them, having to rely on a wrong set of players, and then the squad being too thin, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think what you touch on with Xhaka and Luiz is so true as well. Like, given the fact a season or two ago, I probably wouldn't have ever thought we'd be, expecting to rely on players as that such. And I mean, a big player we expected to rely on was Aubameyang, of course. That's sort of, it's been a bit of a sinking ship all round because all the players that we've needed have either been injured or not performed. We brought in Thomas. He's had his injuries, which we didn't know of beforehand. I just don't think it's really gone in our work, like in our sort of way. So touching on the players that have sort of improved, so you mentioned Jack and Luiz. Obviously, Luiz is out for the rest of the season. It's a big loss. Talking about the forward, like the Saka and Smith-Rowe, what's your perception on like the future? Because obviously there's been a lot of talk on finances. I know we spoke off air how like COVID has been a bit of a different situation. Not many clubs have got money. I don't know how much Arsenal's got. How long do you think we can sort of hold on to your Sakas and your Smith-Rowes? Because obviously people are going to come knocking. We're going to want the sort of money. The players that we're going to get rid of aren't going to bring us much in. How would you feel if like those sort of players were to leave? Do you think there's room for like them to be replaced, or do you think they're sort of the players that we need to hold on to despite how much we need the money?
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate that they're like that young. If Ødegaard seems to be at an age where, I mean, obviously he isn't our player, but he's at that age where, okay, he probably has learned his trade through the years, and he's done his loan periods. Now he's ready to really kick on and play somewhere special, whether that's Madrid, whether that's here, whether it's somewhere else. I mean, let's hope it's here. Whereas we're kind of fortunate that Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka are they are so young, and Martinelli as well. They are so, and they're actually locked down for quite long contracts. I know Emile Smith-Rowe maybe is the shortest of them, but we've kind of got them locked up for a bit. So there's a couple of things there. I mean, if anyone was to come knocking, so Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka in particular, they are young and they're English players. That means they're at a premium. They are so expensive for anyone to buy. And so the more they perform, the more we get. So the flip side of if we did have to sell them for whatever reason, we would get a shitload of money. So I don't know if you're swearing on this podcast, but we would get a lot of money.
No, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. You're fine, mate. We do enough of it.
That's fine. But yeah, so we'd get a lot of money for them. It's just a question of whether or not we'd actually want to sell them. But it's up to us to make sure that this is the place that they need to be. But if 2 or 3 years go by and we're not back in the Champions League, then I would expect heads to be turned and contracts are then close to being run down and decisions are going to have to be made. But like you say, I mean, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, I mean, and now Balogun, who's just signed.
Yeah. I was just, funny enough, I was just about to touch on that. Obviously, with Balogun coming in, it looks like we're going to sort of see certain departures we didn't really want to 2 seasons ago. Eddie Nketiah looks like he'll probably be going out the door because you can't keep so many strikers, and they're getting to a sort of age now where they need that experience and to need that game time on the field. Balogun, how did you feel about that? Obviously, he's been sort of, I've not seen enough of him personally at a full-time professional level to know what he's going to bring. To me, it's just another gamble. I know that's probably sounded a little harsh towards him, but we've seen, he scored when he has played for us and he has looked creative, but he's so young. And when we've got the likes of Eddie, who's also looked good at certain times, perhaps not so much the last year or so, I didn't really know what to make of it. To me, it was a bit of okay, if we keep Eddie, I'm happy. If we keep Balogun, I'm happy. Perhaps Balogun's the better move because he's a bit more flexible and versatile. You can put him in different positions. He looks like he can play around certain players better than what Eddie can. What did you make of it? Was you sort of happy, or are you? I mean, it's a case of who do you keep out of them, really? Like I said, it's a matter of personal preference, because at the moment Eddie's had enough chances, but it's probably just time for Balogun to sort of get on that to get on the wheel, I guess.
Yeah, and they're actually, in terms of youth development, they had really similar trajectories. I mean, Eddie Nketiah, the highest ever scoring at England under 21, just after Alan Shearer, surpassed his record recently. So in theory, that's unbelievable. And actually, Balogun's had an even better record, but it doesn't always translate. You're right, and really, Balogun has played really well against some of the Europa League teams and scored a couple of goals, but it's such a small sample size, you can't really make a good evaluation. I guess what we do know for sure is that Eddie Nketiah is, I just think he's run his course, and I think he needs to go somewhere else. I think he's had his chances. I don't know, he seems to have all the attributes of a player that you think would be a really good fox in the box. He's got very quick feet, and it just doesn't really happen for him. And I think it is time, particularly because they've got the same agent, it's kind of stick or twist. And I think we've seen about as much of Eddie Nketiah as we're going to get from him. So why not twist or gamble with Balogun? And we know he's got a really good record, and hopefully he can be one of those players that can translate, but it's not a given. And and I think that's why it took ages to get him playing or give him a contract, because we were stuck between a rock and a hard place. We wanted him to commit, but we needed him to commit to be able to play him, but he wanted us to play him to make him commit. But he's too young for it to, or hasn't played enough for us to be, as Arsenal football club, to be put in those positions. So I'm glad. I think Arteta's really swung him around. So look, you've got a future here. Aubameyang's getting older, Lacazette's getting older. Martinelli's coming through, but really there's a huge gap there and a massive void that needs to be filled. And maybe they said to the agent, look, we've seen enough of Eddie. We've got a real plan for your client now. And I think that's what it'll come down to. So we'll say, right, we're going to sell Eddie. We've got a real plan for Balogun. So, and then I guess the complication before, even in January, Eddie Nketiah was still playing some games. So I wonder if those conversations were being had and they sort of said, well, with Nketiah, we still want him to play. Balogun still want him to play. There's a conflict for an agent there. So I wonder if they just definitely said, look, we'll get rid of Nketiah, we'll sign Balogun. So, but I think that comes into the Arteta effect. I think he seems to be very persuasive, and I wonder if that's really helped.
Yeah. So you're Arteta in, I'm going to guess.
I am. What are you?
Yeah, I'm Arteta. I mean, I've always said it like the way we're going at the moment, I just think there's a lot there that needs to happen. And like you said about Arteta, with the effect he has on the players, I think he has that sort of respect in the dressing room now, which we want a manager to have. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter, as I'm sure you do, on cases of like, oh, if he don't win this, he needs to go. I don't understand who can come in and sort of, keep. I don't get who can keep the ship going when at the moment it's. I get that people could say it's sinking, but at the end of the day, he's doing what he can. He's doing what most other managers would do. He's playing the best team out. Some decisions can be knocked, I guess, but like everyone, we haven't really had an easy season. We've had injuries, and certain things have happened where the new signings that we brought in to improve the squad, you can't really look at and say we've had and seen enough of them for them to even, make that change. Gabriel, he's played well when he has, but again, he had a sending off, he's had suspended. I think he even had COVID at one point. And then you look at Partey, he's had more injuries in this season than in his entire career. So we haven't really changed our squad from last year. You can't expect much on. I know you touched on Lacazette, so I want to ask what your opinion is on him. 2 goals, obviously, on Monday. Again, I know it's only Sheffield United, but he's in the right sort of frame of mind. What do you make of him next season? Do you see him sort of departing? I know you said, obviously, at the age. But what would you do if you could? If you could sort of keep or stick or sort of get rid, would it be the right time for him to leave the club?
I don't think so. No, I'd like to keep him personally, but I guess it's down to it. It feels like it's going to come down to a contractual thing rather than anything else. So it's going to be a financial decision, because if it was okay, should we have Lacazette for another year? Then yeah, he's our top scorer. Him and Aubameyang. I guess the fortunate thing about those two is that they are quite different. So we can offer 2 different things up top. And somebody showed me some stats recently. To show that actually when Aubameyang plays through the middle, he's in unbelievable form. I mean, so he's really scoring some goals. We're getting into a lot better positions than we did even last season. So, like the XG, the expected goals for Aubameyang this season is far higher than last season. Arteta's getting him into far better positions, but he's just not in the same scoring form. And Lacazette's very similar. So we're fortunate they've got slightly different positions. I think it will come down to contract situation, but we've got a guy that's scoring us goals, can link up play. The key is, and maybe this is a black mark in Arteta, I mean, sometimes I feel like Arteta doesn't know which striker to play for which game. But if you're going to play Lacazette, you need, because he's brilliant at doing what he does, and Aubameyang is good at doing what he does. And what Lacazette is good at is coming in deep, linking up the play, and then chasing in and being a late arrival in the goal, a late arriver in the box to try and score a goal. He's not the first one in the box. That's an Aubameyang job. He's always pushing and running in behind.
Yep.
But if you're going to play Lacazette as that, knowing what his attributes are, if you're going to play Willian, if you're going to play like maybe even Odegaard and Willian together, who are they don't run in behind. They are not stationary players, but technically sound players. Maybe with Pepe on the right, let's say. Suddenly, you've got no one desperate to run in behind. So when Lacazette's coming in to link up the play, there's no one really to then go in behind. So it looks like he's vacated a space, and there's no one in behind, and there's no one in the box when Saka's gone through. But it's like, well, you didn't add in. That's why you can see in Sheffield United where Martinelli started with Lacazette, and then Saka was running in behind. Pepe was running in from the right. Either Emile Smith-Rowe or Sheffield United was Martinelli. They're all running in. So when Lacazette, everybody looks great. It just works because they complement each other's skills. But Lacazette will look like a donkey if you don't give him the right players, as would Aubameyang if you didn't give him the right players. So it's just finding that balance. I'd be very keen to keep them, but I guess he's a very expensive player, and the same as Aubameyang. So maybe they're looking at, right, so Lacazette's got a year left of his contract. He's 200k a week or something like that. And so, we're either going to extend his contract and he's not going to go down in price by a year, 2 years. But I don't think he probably doesn't have 3 years in him. But so then maybe you're looking at, okay, what can we get from him now financially? And this is purely financial, because from a football point of view, I'd like to keep him. Yeah. And then you're looking at someone got a year left on his contract, who you can then get some money out now because he's just under 30, so you can still get some money for him. Or you've got a player in Aubameyang that you've invested in massively for 3 years, and maybe it's just like, well, we're not going to sell Aubameyang because no one's going to be able to afford him, and why don't we stick with him? So if you had to get rid of one, it would be Lacazette, but not for necessarily footballing reasons.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky with me because I was like most people at the beginning of the season. I was having a party acting like it was Christmas when Aubameyang signed his new contract. But Lacazette, just for me, I think if you play him all the time, he's scoring. Considering he's hardly played this, like he's not really started many games. I think majority of the games you see him come on as a sub, which is, I suppose, quite fortunate that we have that sort of stability and flexibility up top. Not many people can say they've got two top forwards, like you touched on. But it was always a gamble bringing them both in, like in such short period of time. Because if they can't play together, someone's really losing out. And I know I've touched on this before, but like in the fact how we're so short at the back, like we lose players like Jacko and Louise, like what you said earlier, and we're all in a panic, like, oh shit, world's gone. But then up top, if we lost someone like Lacazette or Aubameyang, you're not really too worried because it's like, oh, okay, Martinelli can come in and perhaps get his game time. Pepe can come in. You know, there's always someone on that bench to fulfill. I think, I mean, no matter what I say, I know I'm probably going to be wrong, but I think in terms of Aubameyang, you probably won't get money for him now anyway. Teams can't afford it, and the sort of money we'd sell him for on a new contract, you can go out and probably get someone else like a sort of good age and someone that can bring that more to the table. Because like you said, I think if he's not scoring Aubameyang, it's quite hard to see what he does bring to the game. Whereas with Lacazette, he does have that hold-up play and he does a bit more in the box. Aubameyang's a great finisher, great striker, don't get me wrong, but to add more to that, I don't know what else you could really say about it in terms of his sort of build-up play when he's on the field. What does he create? You know, does he bring an assist here or there? Is he part of the play that creates the goal? I would keep Lacazette. If I had it my way, I'd keep Lacazette and sell Aubameyang because I just think captain as well. I don't think he's a captain, so it's a good opportunity to just sell him and bring on someone new to lead the team. And you know, in terms of like stats and play, he's probably holding up quite a lot of wages. And I just think we need that sort of new head up top. But Lacazette will go. We'll probably lose out on money for him. It's going to be a bit of a shame, you know. But the system is what it is. We'll touch on tonight's game because I know we're playing. So we're obviously speaking of front three, front four at the moment. Who would you start with tonight? What would your sort of formation be and lineup?
Yeah, so I've gone up and down on this, and I'm still undecided. So I'm quite interested to see what comes out of my mouth in a minute, because there's a few different scenarios, right? And I'm torn. But just one more thing on Lacazette as I go into this, like I don't know if you've read this stat, but it shocks me. But I mean, since and I think this is important because of the formational change. Since Boxing Day, which is the day we changed our formation, and I've been brilliant since. I think no one apart from Gundogan has scored more goals in the Premier League than Lacazette.
Incredible.
So it just shows you with the right system, these players, you know, are good. And actually, as I was saying about Aubameyang, that no one, you know, Arteta's getting into a better position than he did last season. It's just how can you account for him not being able to finish this season when he could last? Yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of pretense. So there's a few factors going into this, and I guess when it comes to the front four, we don't know who's injured. I think so. If we start right at the top, Aubameyang has been ill this weekend, and there's a lot of speculation as to reasons why that could be. Like,
I'm not a conspiracy. I don't want to touch on this.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I think if the club have lied, then they've done it to say, look, you need to be rested because they're gonna play him tomorrow. But I don't think there's enough of a fallout there. From what I understand from internal, you know, sources from various people I've heard, like it's fine. The relationship's fine. It's just, you know, I think making mountains out of molehills there. So, but it's and I think whenever a player is referred to as ill, sometimes people just do say flu, and I don't think they might have meant actual flu because if it's actual flu, he's going to be out for a few weeks. So there's every chance that he's actually been ill, particularly when Granit Xhaka was ill the week before. But I think if Aubameyang is fit and hasn't had the flu, I think he'll play. because Slavia Prague hold a high line, and I think he'll play through the middle. So it makes sense that someone like Aubameyang who can run in behind is the one that's there to play. But actually, I think if he has been ill, I wouldn't want to start him because this game's gone potentially 120 minutes. I think we should start with Lacazette.
Yeah.
I think we should have someone who's technically in form, and we should play him there. But if we're going to play Lacazette, like I said, we need 3 very mobile, very quick players behind that. So then we get into so I'm still undecided if it's Aubameyang or Lacazette, depending on the scenario. But it also depends on whether Odegaard's fit or not. Because if we've got Odegaard, then what we can probably do is just have the 3 technical players behind. And so that could be Emile Smith-Rowe, who in fairness runs in behind, Saka on the right, and Odegaard in the middle. That's 3 technical players behind what would then have to be really Aubameyang, because he's the player that works most well with. Although to their credit, Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka do run in behind a lot. So, but actually, then maybe that would be what that's what we would need Aubameyang to do. So, but then Emile Smith-Rowe might not be fit, and Odegaard might not be fit. So, if we're going to take the assumption that both of those players aren't fit, because it's not unlikely, we still don't know yet. I went through a late fitness test today. I think we have to sort of look at what we did for the Sheffield United game, and we know Tierney's not fit. We know Louise isn't fit. Granit Xhaka is. Let's say in this scenario, Aubameyang is ill and it won't be able to start at least. Then we need to worry about who we're playing at left back. We need to worry about who's for the centre. So if we start, if we start from right to left, at the back. So obviously Leno in goal. I'd say Chambers, I think, at the back, at the right back, I should say, because he gives a bit of extra height.
I'd agree on
that. A
bit
bit more defensive security. I would then actually play Holding, Pablo Marie, and then I would play Gabriel at left back.
That's an interesting one. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. I mean, it's not a bad call, because to have all 3 of them still, it's going quite defensive, which we might need. But yeah, that's sorry. I'll let you carry on with that's a very big call. It's good.
It's different, and I toyed with playing Saka at left back, and actually that's what I posted on my Arsenal editor Instagram, because I still am, So I get there are complexities here, and there's a lot to consider. So, but I think the reason why I've sort of come to that conclusion is because Saka was so good in the middle, that I think we have to play him there, and Holding just looks like a much better player when he's got Pablo Marie next to him. So I don't know if you remember the Invincibles, and I'm sure we do, but. It seemed to be that we had Lauren at right back, Ashley Cole at left back. Ashley Cole would bomb forward and be the attacker. Lauren would be a bit more defensive. So in this sense, we'd have Gabriel, Marie, and Holding being more defensive, and let Chambers bomb forward a bit more, because he's got a physical cross.
He's got a good cross in him as well, to be fair.
Exactly. And he works well with whoever would be on the right. Well, I'd like Pepe, but so I would in that sense, I'd like, so I've named back 4. Obviously, Xhaka and Partey.
Yeah.
And then I think in the middle, Saka, on the left, Martinelli, and on the right, Pepe. And then through the middle, if you're going to play those 3, I think Lacazette.
Yeah, I think other than the call to Gabriel has made me think a little bit now. But my predicted lineup wouldn't be that, but my wanted lineup would probably be similar. And like Holding and Marie has just opened a can of worms, because everyone was like, "Oh, Gabriel new signing," and I mean, them 2 together have looked good. And I know it's different kettle of fish when you're talking a Europa League quarter-final, but they should be able to get the job done. I'm confident. I am. I mean, we only need the 3-1 win, I guess. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I just think clean sheet's a bit too much to ask for at the moment. And it's their turf as well. They're going to be up for it. They're going to know they're in a good position. What about you? How are you feeling? I mean, I know it's a silly question to ask any Arsenal fan, but what's your thoughts right now?
Oh, I'm so nervous. Do you mean about tonight specifically?
Yeah, just like in general.
Oh, I'm so nervous. I nearly said the word excited, but that's not true. I'm shitting it, to be honest, mate. I think, and the reason is, right, I don't know, we've had this for the last couple of seasons where we played Chelsea in the final, both finals actually, the FA Cup and the Europa League before that. And it felt like it was all or nothing. But this time it really is all or nothing, because I don't think we're going to make it in the league, the Europa League. So it's Champions League or bust. And what that means for a club coming out of COVID who have really suffered from their revenue streams because they rely on the Emirates so much, and what that means for the club. I would be very worried as to what that would mean in terms of like the future of Arsenal. So if we don't win the Europa League and we don't get any Europa League through league position, then I really worry for what that would mean for Arsenal finances. The flip side of that is, and this is the optimist in me. This is a bit right. So I'm thinking, right. So let's say we lose tonight, or even we lose in the semis, or even the final. The good news is we've got a lot of players on good contracts in terms of length. So Partey's not going anywhere. Tierney's not going anywhere. All the bad young players aren't going anywhere. Odegaard won't stay. I think that's about as bad as it will get. But what I think it would happen. The hierarchy of Arsenal really, really support Arteta. They love him, and I think the way he speaks, what he's doing there, they really respect. And I'm pretty sure that resonates all the way to the top into the ownership. And you see that by, we're not seeing Kroenke do that really, but 50 million, bosh, there it is on the table, have Partey on the last day. So I wonder if, the Kroenkes will look at this and go, we've got this diminishing asset, basically, in a football club that was used to be a surefire Champions League. We need to pump some money in to make it, like, apart from anything else, a viable business return. So when they ever, if they sell it, or if they do anything with it, then they're going to need to pump money into it to get it to the value it used to be. And at the moment, it's plummeting, Arsenal Football Club, in terms of its value. I think I saw 8th today in one valuation, but I think in the world, but I've seen in others that in terms of revenue and stuff, it's plummeting. We used to be like 4th, and now we're 11th as per 2 years ago, and it's only going to go down if we don't get Champions League. So there's kind of two different ways that I really worry about where this would leave us, kind of as a club in the long term, and it might. There's always a scared part of me that thinks this could solidify us as a mid-table club, and there's no reason why we couldn't be one of those sleeping giants like an AC Milan for a long time. You could even go as far as like Newcastle, Leeds, Villa. It's not impossible.
Yeah, a lot of teams have been for it, so it's a tricky one. And I think the problem is the fact that we're in such a different climate as well. No one has a clue what's going on. So to add to it, it's like, okay, we're going to struggle, but we're also going to struggle because we can't make money, really. If anything, you're just going to lose out on such players. Bellerin, Lacazette, all these players that haven't really got the game time they probably need at their ages. Especially like players like Lacazette, when you touched on how they're old. They don't want to be sitting on the bench until they retire. You want to get out and play. Like you see Cavani still doing it now at United, week in after week. That's what these players want at that age. I'm hoping that sort of after this it's a sort of good discussion where we had nothing to worry about and we've got good things to look forward to.
Yeah,
we've got obviously the potential return of Unai Emery as well, which I tell you what, that would just be something. If we could play him in the semi-final, oh my god, it'd be a shame that no one could go to it. Do you manage to? Obviously, you said you sort of live in the London area. Would you say that you sort of like to go to a lot of games? How have you felt about obviously fans not being able to go to the ground?
Yeah, I usually get to a few a season. I'd like a season ticket, but I can't quite afford that at the moment. Living in London, it's hard enough.
No one can.
And we've got quite an expensive team to go and see, unfortunately. So I get there a few times a year, and the last game I was at actually was the Valencia game. I think it was like the first leg of the semi-final. Or was it quarter-final? I can't remember. But well, Aubameyang scored, and I do like to get there as much as possible. But I always do it through exchanged websites and things like that. But I have missed it because now I'm properly in London, like living in London, not on the outside. So this is the time for me to actually be going, and it's just gutting that I can't, which is upsetting. So but I think we really miss the fans. We really do. I don't know if you noticed, but we just don't seem to, and a lot of teams don't seem to just pile on the pressure in the last 10 minutes. Like when you would at home, if you're drawing or you're losing and you need a goal,
Aston Villa 3-2, there you go, something like that. That would have happened if the fans weren't there. That would have never have happened. It's just the fact that the fans give you that sort of. I think the players do need the sort of fans gunning out down their neck as well. It's something that's just good for all team morale, whether it's in a negative way or a positive way. I think it just boosts them. but hopefully we'll be back soon. Normality is sort of one step away. I know you've got some stuff to do, so we're going to sort of wrap up. But before you do, I want anyone that's listening that hasn't been on your channel, just give everyone a little brief on what it is you do and where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so it's Arsenal_editor on Instagram. That's where we mainly are. We've also got a YouTube channel where we do goal highlights and things like that. But yeah, on the Arsenal editor Instagram, we do a lot of Q&As, and we also have a podcast which you can find on Spotify and iTunes and all the other podcast platforms. So yeah, just search Arsenal editor and you'll find us, and we'll do all sorts of fun things as well. So yeah, you'll have a lot of fun if you find us there.
Great, that is perfect. I'll make sure I do. And anyone listening or watching, make sure you go and check it out. Thank you, Toby. It's been a real big pleasure, mate, for you coming on. And let's just hope it's on a high note and Arsenal win. And I've got nervous now just talking about it. I think I'm going to sort of go home, have a couple of beers, be in the right mood, and then we'll just see what happens. Tomorrow's a new day, but hopefully it's looking forward to a semi-final. So we are back tonight, funny enough, with episode 7, which is on the underdogs. So all the flops of the season and the players that we think have been well. Once again, make sure you go check out Arsenal Editor on YouTube channel and on Instagram, and we'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to hit that button. Thank you.
Thanks.